Assalamu alaikum everyone. So today we have Shafia Naseer from ICA Pakistan Limited, and given how quickly people are losing their jobs in times of COVID and how unemployment is on the rise, I felt necessary to have a chat with Shafia, who has recently joined ICA Pakistan as Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Manager, and ask her about what is the best way to find a job in times of COVID? How does one adjust in a new role during these times? So these are some of the questions that we'll be asking from Shafia. So welcome aboard, Shafia. How are you doing?
Hi, Aisha. Thank you for having me over. I'm doing good. And for the rest of you, and by way of introduction, I am a communicator by profession. I've been in the field for about 13 years, pretty much looking after the entire ambit of corporate com, including storytelling, issues and crisis management, internal, external communications. Currently, I'm with ICI, but I've worked with General Electric and BSF. I also have 8 years of agency background with Zenith PR, and I've been trained in media and crisis management by Graham Leach and David Rogers, and Genesis Person Taylor. So it's a short
Great,
introduction
impressive.
of me.
Thank you. So just like we were having this discussion earlier regarding how challenging it is to join a new role and a new job in the midst of COVID and not even having met your team. So, would you like to share something regarding this experience and what would be the best way to approach such a scenario?
Yes, I joined my most recent role in quarantine. I mean, it was unusual to say the least, and a challenging experience to take on a new responsibility during a global health crisis. And only last week I actually completed my 1 month in this new organization, and sort of feel privileged to share a few takeaways and learnings on what it's like to start a new job, meet your new teammates virtually, and sort of just to get up to speed on a new business in the midst of a pandemic. While I'm not new to remote working, but these are very unusual circumstances, where entire families are now confined in very close spaces, and working from home now means battling a new set of distractions, like children sort of coming in because they are also home. So I just feel that when there's a lot of social distance, there's a bit of social isolation also professionally. We are social animals. We're very used to going to office, meeting our colleagues, having a face-to-face interaction. I just feel when you're doing everything virtually, there is also a set of challenges that we have to tackle. So, for example, there may be a lack of commitment, as meetings are now only virtual, and screen fatigue, I feel, is a very very real thing, and it's causing our attention spans to shorten, because it's, you would agree that when you're staring at a laptop screen, it is really more exhausting when you're actually meeting people face to face in an office.
Yes.
You cannot meet team members, you cannot engage directly with them, your colleagues or your line managers, and you may feel a bit disconnected, a bit less creative, or maybe even a little less productive. So I think this whole working from home is resulting in a fusion of professional and private life, and some people, I mean including myself, we are also having a bit of difficulty to disengage at the end of the day, because I'm literally rolling out of bed every day and just sitting in front of my computer and just taking very short breaks in between, but I'm just working till the time I'm actually going to bed. So I think that's very
So, what do
important.
you think would be a better way to go about managing the team in times of COVID, especially when you're new to the role and the team doesn't know you, it hasn't been acquainted with you yet? So, what would you suggest in this regard?
I am a firm believer, and I've encouraged my team also, now the new team, that it's best to replicate things that would have done in person. So for example, sticking to a routine, having daily catch ups. So what I do is I have, I'm using the technological tools that are available to me. We have Teams, we have Zoom, so make use of those. So what I've done is, I do have meetings with them on a very regular basis, daily basis, and then we have team trackers also. And generally making myself available, and it's very important to have a very calm composure as a line manager, as a leader. It's really important to have that, because I think that is then mirrored across the team. Then if you are
That's
calm and
true.
focused, and you are a voice of sanity, so your team is also going to just sort of try to mirror that. So that's really important, I think.
Okay, so if I were to ask you regarding job search in times of COVID, because as we know, unemployment is on the rise, and many people are becoming, they're losing their jobs and becoming redundant in these times. So, do you think the traditional ways of job search are relevant in times of COVID as well, or do we need to revisit the way we search jobs in these times?
Yeah, I think you're very right. It's I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. We don't have a clear picture of the future. So, I mean, if you're fortunate enough to have a stable job right now, even if you have a stable job right now, it feels like we're not moving up or we are not progressing. Everything is on hold, and many of us are also feeling that insecurity. And I actually, I can relate to all of that, because I just joined, and I joined after actually losing my job and being jobless for 3 months. But my job search actually started way before that. It took a total of 9 months for me to land this job. And I can understand that it can induce panic, because we focus on the most important needs that we have, like food, finances, security, safety, rent. It's
The basics, the essentials.
the basics, the essentials, because it becomes very difficult to access a higher strategic thinking when your basic needs are threatened. And
Mm,
that's, I think, what's happening in this pandemic. So now I feel that it's now more than ever, it's important to ensure that your entire job search strategy tells a very clear, compelling story. From your cover letter to your resume to your LinkedIn profile, and even how you present yourself in a job interview, in virtual interviews. Because people tend to trust people who are very consistent. and
that's true.
and from my experience, I can tell you, and I'm a big believer that networking is the most critical bit, and it's going to continue during this time also. So it's imperative that you grow, you continue to grow, you activate and mobilize your contacts, your network, even while you're practicing social distancing, right? So, I mean, that could mean sending out lots of introductory emails, to former colleagues, to mentors, friends of friends, asking for virtual meetings, referrals. And then I think you should make the most of that by meeting these people and sharing your story. What trends that what are the trends that you should be looking for. If there is any advice, be very specific and be very open. The kind of support that you're looking for. If you want your feedback on your resume, or you want somebody to introduce you over email, I think it's important to be honest and conduct that job search with integrity. And remember, I mean, the older age, practice makes perfect. So practice is going to make this entire process very perfect. And then one most important thing I think is that don't panic, because and just start applying everywhere and anywhere, because it's sometimes you feel like a sense of achievement that I sent out like 100 resumes today. But resist that urge, be very specific in your search. Aim for quality instead of quantity. So I think that's really important. Yeah, are you there?